Word. Okay, I'll welcome everyone again and welcome David as well. It might take a moment for all your slides to load. So I'm going to move ahead though to our little tour of the Blackboard interface. We have three main components there to the left: your audio video, your participants box, and your chat box. And you will probably see them all stacked on top of each other to the left. You can actually grab any of those boxes by the title bar and pull them out and rearrange them on your desktop. Let me just smother my phone. Sorry about that. If you want to make some space, the chat especially, it's often convenient to pull that out and stretch it and expand it so that you can see more of what's happening at any given moment. The talk button, I'm going to go back up to the top there for you and grab my pointer. The talk button there is how you turn on your microphone, and we do ask that everyone remembers to turn the microphone back off once you've finished speaking, and that prevents us from having too much feedback. We try and have only one mic on at a time. In the participant window, you will see four little icons that are underneath your name. The first one is our emoticon. So if you hover over that, you will see a number of options that you can use to communicate through the session at any time. We welcome all your comments in, as well through the chat, of course, at the bottom. The second icon there is the step away icon. So if you need to step away and attend to your family or your dog or anything else, you can click on that, as I will right now, and you'll see that I'm away, and we won't expect your participation. And when you come back, you can just click it again, and we will know that you've returned to the session. The very next icon over is the hand symbol, and because we do try and have just that one mic going on at a time, you can use that button to click, and everyone can go ahead and try that right now. And you'll see that a little symbol comes up with the ordinal there, and that'll let Danuta know to call on you. And when you're finished speaking, you can put your hand back down again. Very good job, guys. Thank you. And the very last icon there on the right is our polling icon, which is currently set as a yes-no poll. If you hover your mouse over that, you'll see you have an option to click a green check or a red X if you want to go ahead and test one of those. Fantastic. So if there's a quick question that Danuta wants to ask, you can use that to communicate as well. And sometimes we switch that to being ABCD and so on, and so we'll direct you to use that if needed. And right there at the bottom of the screen, of course, there's your chat window, which it looks like all of you are using fairly well. David and John, I haven't seen anything from you yet, which is fine. Participation and the degree to which you participate is up to you, but we do encourage everyone to join in the chat. Thanks, John, and to use your microphone as much as possible, because that is a quick way to communicate as well. Now I'm going to advance one more slide here, and I'm going to give you a chance to use some of those tools. At the whiteboard screen is the main part of our interface, and we have a couple of tools there that we're going to check out tonight. Right at the very bottom of the tool strip that you will find to the left of your whiteboard, there's a little picture that looks like a landscape photograph. That's our clip art icon, and when you click on that, you're going to get a pop-up window that you'll see similar to the one at the bottom of the whiteboard. I just placed a capture on there. And if you go ahead and click the Common Symbols tab, I'd like you to grab a symbol and place it on the map of Ontario to show us where you're joining us tonight from. I'm over at the west end of Lake Ontario in Ancaster, outside of Hamilton. Oh, we've got our Western Ontario friends with us, as well as someone that's up in the Ottawa area. You can let us know precisely where you are by typing in the chat. Actually, Danuta, my memory escapes me. Would you like us to demonstrate the text tool?
Yes, I would like you to do that, please.
Okay, thank you. I've had a number of things going on today. Okay, so the text tool you'll find is the fourth icon from the top of that whiteboard strip. It's the fourth tool that's there. If you happen to be currently seeing a little capital A with a bunch of lines, I'd like you to click on the little teeny black triangle in the corner of that tool icon so that the second option pops open, which is just a capital A. That is our plain text tool. It's much easier to use than the other one, which is a text box that can be a bit frustrating. So go ahead and select the text tool then, and you can actually drop it somewhere on the map of Ontario and just type in the name of the town that you already typed in the chat. And then you click enter and it will show up on the whiteboard screen. Okay, we do have Barrie and Ottawa. And is anyone having any trouble with that? You can give me a red X using the icon under your name in the participant box if you're having any trouble. Okay. So far so good then. All righty, we will pass this on over. Oh, Christine, even your red X isn't working. Okay, so the red X option that I'm referring to is the polling choice, which is in the participants window, which is where you see your name. And then the four icons like the raising hand icon and the step away icon. Okay, I see you've got it now. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for your patience, everyone. We will move along and hand this over to Danuta.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you, Louise, for your introduction. You've been doing so great with all the symbols, so I'm going to actually start by asking you to use the symbols to tell us a little bit about yourself, and it will be very brief. I would like to know what grades you teach, so if you could use a check mark, so a green check mark if you're teaching grade 4 or 5, please, that would be great. Okay, so I can see Lori and Linda. Okay, I'm assuming that's just the two of you. Thank you so much. If you could just clear your status, please. And if you are teaching grade 6, please. David, Jennifer, John. Okay, great. And 7 or 8. If I could ask David and Jennifer to clear their status, that would be lovely. Okay, so I'm not sure if I covered everyone. I did indicate this session is geared towards teachers of junior and intermediate grades, so that's why I was interested to see what grades you teach. So thank you for that. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. Basically my official title is Curriculum and Technology Consultant, and I work for the Simcoe Muskoka Catholic Board in Barrie. And although the office is in Barrie, I try to be in schools as much as possible, and I often co-plan and co-teach with teachers. So what you are going to see today will be a selection of projects I have been involved in over the last couple of years in various grades and in various schools. So the whole journey started about 6 years ago, and all the technology back then was just computers, and we are using Mac, so there was desktops and laptops, and then we introduced smartboards, and most recently mobile technology such as iPods and iPads. So, in other words, it's never boring. I'm also a member of OSAPAC, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with this acronym. It's a committee that reviews software and then provides recommendations to the ministry in regards to what should be licensed. So it gives me great satisfaction when I see software that I reviewed myself, and that would be the case tonight, that is used by teachers, and it's just really warms my heart when I know that the software that I recommended is being used and appreciated. So just wanted to add that. and I noticed that Jennifer mentioned that Max, dream. Yes, they are, but if I could just digress for a moment, I sometimes wonder if this is a good investment. So if this is something that you are considering, just always think about they are very powerful machines if used properly. But if they are just used for typing or searching, I'm not sure if exactly if this is and now the white ones that you're probably familiar with are gone. So the only ones you can actually buy are MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, which for schools, I'm not sure. I'm just wondering if this is a good use of money. But anyway, let's just move on. What I'm going to ask you right now is, again, I'm sure that you feel the same. There's nothing better than a face-to-face session, but there are also benefits to a webinar. You don't have to travel. You are at home in the comfort of your home, and you have a recording to refer to after. So just to mention most, actually all the links that I will be referring to, and there will be quite a few, will be available to you. So there's no reason to scramble and try to write them down. In terms of projects, I will indicate which ones I have not received permission as in terms of copyright. And so these ones will be highlighted tonight, but you will not be able to, and there's just a few that you will not be able to download or have access to. So what I'm going to ask you is, I will do what I would probably do in a face-to-face, which is a quick icebreaker. So I will display a statement per slide, and I will ask you to agree with me if you do. There's no pressure. It's called Just Like Me. So the first one is, I use small group instruction frequently. So if you do, just like me, if you could put a check mark beside your name, I would appreciate it. Okay, great. Just please remember to clear your status. If you could clear your status, and I will move on to the next slide. Great. Next one is, I believe that students' engagement increases when they use technology to complete a task. Okay. That's great. Thank you so much. And this is probably why you are here tonight. It is 8 o'clock, and instead of watching a movie or reading a good book, you are here learning more about technology integration. So certainly makes sense. And the next one, please. When students are engaged, the quality of their work improves. Great. Okay, let's move on. And if you could clear your status, and I'll move on to the next one. When using project-based learning, my students usually work with a partner or in small groups. Again, as I said, no pressure. This is only if this actually happens. Okay, thank you. We're almost done with the icebreaker, and if you could just clear your status, and we'll move on to the next one. I believe that when students work in small groups, they problem solve together, develop collaboration and communication skills. And you may have had some cases where actually the working in small groups didn't quite work very well. So, all right, and there's just one more, if you could clear your status, and we are moving on to the last one. I believe our school computers have a lot of software on them, but the challenge is to know which tool to select to address various curriculum expectations. This is what I hear most of the time when I talk to teachers. Just, I don't know what to use. There's a lot, but I'm not sure how it works and what I can use it for. Okay, thank you. That was great. And because it's so hard to keep up, and I'm not sure if your computers are imaged at least once a year, but every year the image is new and there's new software appearing on your computers. For this reason, we often stick to what we know, and that being slideshows, Google searching, and typing assignments. And that's what I see, at least in my job. Again, it could be different in where you work, but that's what I see most of the time. So what I would like you to do is, on the next slide, I'm going to display a couple of quotes from Jamie McKenzie's blog from now on. These quotes, as you probably will notice in the credit, come from 4 years ago. However, I feel they are even more relevant today. So if you could just read them quickly and agree, so put them maybe a thumb up or a check mark, it doesn't matter, whichever is easy for you. If you agree with these statements. I'm particularly interested in the first one. Just to explain, a couple of acronyms in the second one. AASL is American Association of School Librarians, and ISTE is International Society for Technology and Education. Okay, so you can see some check marks and a thumb up. Again, as I said, only if you agree with these statements. So there's never any pressure to agree or approve any of the statements that I'm quoting or that I'm making. The focus of this webinar is publishing students' work as a way of to show understanding of a content area or a novel. So if we look at the diagram on the next page, which many of you are familiar with, if we look at this diagram, the challenge is to go beyond just listing facts students have gathered through research and beyond listing story elements, plot, setting, characters, and problem when we do a novel study. So how can we get them to plan and produce? And is PowerPoint the only tool? So I'm just going to grab this tool. So if we're looking at this area here, remembering. So if a student just does research and takes notes, lists some facts, and then throws them on a slideshow, we are looking at remembering. As the revised taxonomy, those of you who are not familiar, are basically replacing the nouns with verbs. So remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create. So how can we move away from where my pointer is pointing to creating, where the students are planning, producing something, designing? So the question often we ask, I'm sure, is how do we make knowledge and skills stick? And I'm sure that many of you are wondering, have the same problems. How can I make sure that my students remember and keep those skills longer than just to the next test or quiz or particular project or assignment that I have given? So I'm just going to ask you to refer to Robert Marzano's high-yield strategies for a moment. And I'm going to ask for Louise's help. If you could just help me out, and I'm going to grab, if you could bear with me, I'm going to grab a URL. And paste it here. Okay, thank you, Louise. And I hope you are able to see both on your screen. If you click the link in the chat, all the links are live, so you can just click the link that Louise has pasted. And I'm just going to quickly we are not going to spend too much time on it. I just wanted to show you a couple of strategies that I use often, and that is, especially if we are talking about research, summarizing and note-taking, non-linguistic representation, and this is when we ask students to create a storyboard, for example, for their project, and create maybe use smart ideas to plan, and cooperative learning, when and we discussed this is in the Just Like Me section, where students work in partners. I always encourage at least 2 people working together on a project, small groups. There's a couple of reasons, and I will not get into this too much, but one is, other than the problem-solving piece and collaboration, is certainly important for classroom teachers' management, the management part. Teachers often, some are nervous around technology, and having 25 laptops is certainly you have much more likelihood of a problem than having half the numbers. So that's another reason why you might want to use small group. So moving on, I'm just going to go back to our presentation. So let's imagine the following scenario. Those of you who are teaching grade 6 will be able to relate. As a culminating task of a unit on European explorers, each student was to research one of the explorers and present the results in a slideshow format. So if you could just look at this culminating task and think about the process and the end product. So the question to you is, where would you place it on the Bloom's revised taxonomy? So I'm going to move back. So again, students have to do research on one of the European explorers and present the results in a slideshow format. So they are working individually. They have to, let's say, Samuel de Champlain would be one of them, and then they will present it in a slideshow format. So I'll move back to this slide. So the question to you is, if you feel comfortable giving us your feedback in the chat, where would you place this project in Bloom's taxonomy, and which of Marzano's higher strategies will be applied? Okay, I'm not sure if you are shy providing your feedback. What could be some problems that teachers might face in this particular culminating task? Can you identify any? Okay, understanding. Okay, thank you. Second step. That's great. Thanks, John. Thanks, Christina. I appreciate your contribution, your participation. Any problems that you can see? Again, I'm going to move back to this scenario. Okay, so what I would like to do now is I would like to pretend that I'm a grade 6 student, and I think most of you will agree that students are quite tech savvy, and that could be one reason why teachers sometimes feel nervous about using technology, because they feel the students know more than they do. And believe me, I have worked with many students, and it is a misconception. Yes, they are tech savvy, but only using tools that they use all the time. So if I'm a grade 6 student and my teacher assigned this particular task, I'm going to try and see if I can put forth the least effort. So, yes, John, rewording info from Google searches, that's right. Okay, so let me just, I hope it will work. I will just share the application with you. I'm going to go to do a search. So I'm going to do a search for Samuel de Champlain. That's what the teacher asked me to do. and I will actually do an advanced search because I know how to do it. Probably most students wouldn't, but hypothetically. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to, my teacher asked me to do a slideshow, so I'm going to go to the file type, and I'm going to select PowerPoint. And I'll see what I get. Well, lots of matches. So it's just a matter of scanning and choosing one that I could use. Now let's just try this one. So I'm going to download the slideshow, open it, and I'm going to share. I'm going to open it with, one second, just bear with me please for a moment. I wanted to. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly share PowerPoint. So I'll switch that. I will share and I hope you are able to see that I'm sharing the slideshow. So let me just quickly play the slideshow. Okay, so as you could see, a typical fact-based, when he was born, his education, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but you probably see the blurry images here and there, and a lot of animations, a lot of flashy content, just to add to the coolness. Every single picture is blurry, so I just wanted to show you a quick sample. So what I could have done is, as a student, I can just simply go on the first page, I can type my name and submit it as my project. Could you comment? So again, my question to you, as you recall when I displayed this particular task, was what could be a problem? And I'm not sure if you anticipated that this is what the student could do. If you assign a project that is typical, meaning you give them a name of an explorer, or you ask them to research weather elements, you ask them to research a hero or a famous Canadian. That would be probably what many of them could do. So the question is, that's right, John, no learning. It's fact-based, and it's, well, even if they didn't download somebody else's, they probably would just copy and paste, because in most cases students just simply don't know how to take notes. So they either copy and paste, or they print pages and pages, and they are not quite sure what to do with those pages. So the question is, and I'm going to move on to the next slide, does it mean that we should not allow students to create slideshows? And absolutely, that's not what I mean. But what I'm trying to share with you is encouraging you to stay away from assigning projects that call for a quick Google search of facts and images. The images, again, as I pointed out, students don't even know, being tech savvy, that they save thumbnails and then they try to increase the size and they end up with these blurry images. So something as simple as audience, purpose, and form, which is part of the media studies, because nobody pointed out why is it that I have a blurry image. Nobody taught them that part. Even in this respect, even in the part of the images, their slideshow is not very appealing. So the question is, what are the alternatives, and how else can students publish the results of their research? And this is probably why you are here tonight. You want to find out what the alternatives are. So, so let me backtrack a little. What I always emphasize is try not to start with a specific piece of software and then try to come up with a task. Choosing a computer program should really be the last step in planning a unit of study and a culminating task. I always encourage teachers to use a backward design model. So basically, you start by establishing a goal, and that certainly is determined by curriculum expectations and students' needs. Possibly try a cross-curricular approach, and I will show you a few examples of that. Then you need to decide how students will show you they actually understand the content, and then you plan your instruction. And when in this planning stage, you decide, so if they're going to show me through a research project, and then they will publish the results using creating a podcast, or creating a slideshow, or creating a short movie, or whatever you decide that the culminating task will be, then the question is, what skills do they need and how can I scaffold their learning? So instead of saying, I want to use frames, I wonder what I could get them to do, start by saying, I want them to show me that they actually understand why explorers travel from Europe to North America. And how are they going to show me that they actually understand this process? So, so coming back to the example of explorers, I would like the students to show me that they understand the motivation and attitudes of explorers and their contact with the native people. And I want them to write for a variety of purposes and audience. I want them to edit and revise their work, develop research and inquiry skills, and finally, I want them to create media for a variety of purposes and audiences. So these are all expectations now cross-curricular from social studies and writing and media. So they will conduct research, and as a culminating task, I want them to create an interview with an explorer. So what I would like you to do right now, before I move to a sample project, are there any comments on this process? Copyright images, that's right. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the chat right now. I'm focusing on staying on track and making sure that what I'm sharing with you makes sense. Not an inquiry, that's right, retail and copyright. Okay. There are no questions or comments on this process. Now, before I show you a few samples, as I said, that I know that teachers are always interested in ideas. So what can I do? I would like to just quickly touch on some recommended online resources in terms of research. So I can just take you to, again, I'm going to ask for Louise's help to take you to, and I know some of you are probably thinking, that's French, or at least that the heading is, but bear with me for a moment. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with BrainPop. Could you just quickly give me a thumbs up or check mark if you have heard of BrainPop? So I'm assuming Christine put an X. That probably means a no. Okay, and David says a yes. Or unless Christine and Christina meant a yes. And okay, so that looks like some of you are familiar with that. And if you could clear your status and perhaps give me a check mark if your school board or your school has a subscription to BrainPop. Because this is certainly by subscription only, unfortunately, and it's not inexpensive. I tried to get subscription for my board, and it was expensive. Okay, so I don't see too many check marks. So what I would like to show you is an alternative, and surprisingly, BrainPop has recently come up with a French version, and the French version is, at least for a while, it has been and will probably remain free the rest of the year. And the French version has an English section, surprisingly. So I'm going to just again grab the link for you. And I'm pretty sure that Louise is always ahead of me, so she probably already grabbed it. before I even get to the web tour. Okay, so these are absolutely fantastic short videos. Those of you who put a check mark, you are familiar with them. And usually there is a free one. Unfortunately, there's only one free one. If you have an iPod or an iPad, there is also an app that has a video every day, so you get a little bit more. And there is a few free ones, but what I'm trying to show you is, and this is all going back to the research process. So if you're looking at, and I hope you can see what I'm demonstrating here, and I hope Louise will paste the link for you so you can actually view the video. So if I click here on studying strategies, I'm going to click on this one. So basically it's brainpop.fr and then /English, and you've got a section on research. So I can certainly click it, but I'm not sure if there's going to be a delay in viewing. Okay, so let me just paste the link for you here. I know Louise was trying to talk to me.
Hi, Danuta. I just wanted. That's okay. Hi, Danuta. I just wanted to jump in and let you know that the web tour is working great. So all the things you're clicking on for us to see, we are also seeing.
Oh, thanks, Louise. Thanks. So what I would like you to do is, those of you who are not familiar with BrainPop, if you could kindly click the link in the chat, and I will give you a couple of minutes to just take a break from my voice and navigate over to BrainPop and click this short video on research. Those of you who are not familiar with BrainPop, there's always a quiz underneath. There are some additional resources underneath. Again, as I said, this is not a topic of our webinar, so I won't spend awfully lots of time on this topic, but I thought I would just show you this as a great resource. And another area that you may want to visit if you have time is this writing area over here. So if we click this one, it's going to give you a number of free videos. This one just opened. That's not quite what I wanted. I wanted this one. Here you go. Okay, so you've got, I don't want to talk about book report because I'm not a big fan of book reports, but you certainly have the pre-writing, choosing a topic, types of writing, writing process, strengthening sentences. So these are all great short videos. So again, as I said, I'll stop talking for about a minute or two. If you are ready to join back in a couple of minutes, if you could just put a check mark beside your name to indicate you are back and ready to for the next part. Okay, thanks, Christine. Looks like you're back. And David, would you like to comment in the chat, perhaps? No pressure, again. And Jennifer, how did you find those? How did you find Mobi? I was quite surprised. I was using it in an intermediate class, and the students were actually quite excited. I thought they would find it too childish, but they actually enjoyed it. There's a junior version, as many of you probably realize, but you are junior intermediate teachers. By junior version, I mean junior for geared towards primary students. Okay, looks like I have you back. This is great for intermediates. Before, but no, it was so informative. It was more like bit strips. Thanks. Yes, it is. it is different. BitStrips actually, you have to create characters in BitStrips, and here you've got one. And those videos are just created using such a simple language, and yet, as I always say, I believe in the power of images and videos, short clips, and students of 62% apparently of us are visual learners. So, but we use text most of the time. So that's why, as I mentioned earlier, it's so difficult for us to make the knowledge and the skills stick. So thank you. Question at the beginning and then share the answer solution. Yes, it's great to just even pause. I always encourage when you view a clip, it's just like reading a book. You do before, during, and after. Okay, so I'm going to move on and share another resource. That's all I'm going to do in terms of research process. This is an absolute mine of resources. I'm talking about a library commons from Waterloo Region District School Board. So again, I'm going to quickly just paste. Louise will probably will beat me, most likely. I will post. I'll just take you there for a moment. Okay, thanks, Louise. So if you were able to get to this website, or you can follow on my screen, I hope there's no delay. So what I wanted to draw your attention to is if you could just scroll down a little bit. On the right, you've got at the bottom of this beige colored panel, there's a researcher's toolbox. And if you click that toolbox, this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying a mine of resources. These are, as you can see, PDF files that you can use, graphic organizers, and this is again referring back to Marzano's non-linguistic representation. Any type of graphic organizer is just is one of those high-yield strategies, the ones that improve achievement and make the knowledge and skills stick. So here are all these resources that you can all download them, click, and they are all links. And I'm just going to go back to this page. So this is absolutely my favorite, the one you are looking at right now. It was created, as you probably recognize, Comic Life, and that's before you begin writing. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, okay, you've got this, if you're talking about media, you always talk about audience, purpose, form, and then quite often is what medium are you going to use. So this is one that has been filled out already as a sample, but underneath you can see download the nonfiction writing template, and you can again download a blank one and use it with the students. So the text forms, these are great to again draw your students' attention to what can they do. They can do any of these text forms as a way of them showing their understanding. So I apologize, I won't give you too much time to explore this website, but I hope that you will find a minute to just go back and revisit. I'm going to go back. Not sure if there are any questions. We are looking at the before you begin writing chart. And again, I am flexible. If you would like to spend a minute or two to just look at this website, there's no problem. Or if you would like me to move on. So perhaps what I could do is, if you could just give me a check mark if you want me to move on, or an X if you want some time to explore. Okay. Thank you so much for your direction. Okay, so of course when the students have completed the research and they are planning their final product, and remember, I'm going to just remind you what I asked them to do as a culminating task was create an interview with an explorer, so going back to the same unit. So they're going to create a storyboard, and this template is just one of many that you can use. But this is an extremely important step of publishing process, and I can't stress enough how important it is that they plan whether they are creating a website, a slideshow, a podcast, or whatever, or an animation, that they use the storyboard. So finally, we are getting to the samples. So I'm going to actually, these are just the next few samples will be the ones that unfortunately I don't have a release form from the students to make them available to the public. So I will ask Louise to paste a link, and this one was created in frames, and I will talk more about it. It's an integration of social studies writing and media, and you don't need to listen and watch the whole thing. I just wanted you to have a sample of what the students have created, and we'll do a few more, and then I'll ask for your comments. So if you could just go to the link, and Louise will paste it for you.
Hi, Danuta. I am just tracking my. Okay, so give me the name of the page again. Is this a science page?
No, this is social studies. Social studies
page.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Here it comes. Okay, there it is in the chat. So you're invited to click on the link in the chat and view the videos that are on that page of Danuta's wiki.
So you can just look at both, and as I said, there's no obligation to listen to the whole thing, just to get a snippet, and then again, when you come back, if you could just indicate with a check mark that you are back, please. Thanks for your comment, Christina. Yes, it was cute. I really liked, and this certainly wasn't the best sample that I selected. Jennifer is asking if there is a link. As I indicated, you have been provided with the link, but I will have to remove those projects after the session because I don't have a media release and a copyright release form. So I apologize for this. However, I will be sharing other examples that I'm sure you will appreciate as well. So not to worry. No problem, Jennifer. I realize it's a long day for all of us. That's too bad, Christine, that you couldn't view it. It might be your internet connection. It's unfortunate. Okay, so I have, so let me just have a look. Most of you are back, so thanks so much. And I hope that you were able to watch the second one, If I Was a Blackfoot Tribe, and that's the one that you see right now on the screen. Well, you don't see it, you just see the heading. I just wanted to mention that the idea comes from Nancy Paulette's book, Research Without Copying. And when I worked with a teacher on this project, she was just so excited, and at the end she said, you know what, this idea is so versatile and I can use it for so much, and you will see it used again. She used it again for science. Because you can do it with anything. You can be, if I was, you will see that was actually with human body, which I would never have thought to do it with human body. If I was a tornado, for example, if I was medieval knight, but apparently medieval studies, if you're teaching grade 4, that's probably going to be gone next year. If I were if you're doing research on ancient, if I were a pharaoh, like anything were really, and somebody mentioned here what a great consolidation of learning. So that certainly was. The students had to conduct research and they had to compare and contrast, which is one of the, if you remember, high-yield strategies mentioned by Ina Marzanos on the Marzanos website. So I'm just going to move on and ask if there are any questions. All of my social studies are in French partner. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Jennifer. I really certainly encourage you to share with teachers, or simply direct them to the OTF website as this is recorded. And I have to admit that I have watched probably all the webinars on the OTF Connect. I was not able to schedule myself for specific times, but I watched them after. So certainly something that if you feel that it's worthwhile, you can recommend to your colleagues. Okay, if there are no, yes, the social studies curriculum is changing. I do have a Twitter account, yes. Okay, so Louise is going to put all the information at the end. Okay, so let's move on. So the first thing that teachers want to know is how to animate, and the character certainly in the first video, how to animate a part of the body. So trust me, a couple of years ago when Frames was licensed, and as I said, I was one of the reviewers, so I was very excited that finally we have a piece of software that is ministry licensed that we can create animations with. But I could not figure out how those characters talk and how they are blinking their eyes. So I visited the website, and again I'm going to ask Louise to help, and I will also grab the link for you. Just give me one moment. I can grab it so you can. So actually, what I'm suggesting for teachers, I'm asking them to, instead of teachers worried, you know what, I don't know, I'm not going to be comfortable teaching them. I said just play the video. The students can watch, and once they watch the video, and I did it in a few classes, this is one of those aha moments there. Oh, that's how animations are created. Thanks, Louise. Let me just show you what I would like you to watch quickly. Okay, so if you scroll down, there's a lot of videos, and they are wonderful. As you can see, they are 5, 4, 7 minutes long, and they give you tons and tons of ideas of various projects. But what I am going to ask you to watch for a moment is the one, it is, let me just count from the top, 1, 2, the third one from the top, illustrating animations in frames. You can see, if you have a poor connection, I suggest you use the small format. If you have a speed connection, high speed, large format. It doesn't matter. It's 4 minutes. You probably don't want to watch the whole thing. So if you could just perhaps go and watch this video very quickly, just to understand the process of creating an animation, and you will probably agree with me that it's actually quite simple. So I'll give you again a couple of minutes to go to this website and come back and just put a check mark to let me know, let us know, Louise and myself, that you're ready to, you want me to carry on. Thank you. Okay, looks like John is back. I just wondered, I lost everyone. They're just exploring. Oh, no, they're coming back. Great. I was afraid that I would lose you all and you would just be watching all these lovely short videos, because they really are full of ideas. Any comments on, did you think that it was so easy to create an animated character? Jennifer, thank you. Anyone would like to comment on how, if you think you can just show this video to the students and they will understand how the process? Yes, Louise, that's right. You can talk as well. So if you feel you would like to share some thoughts, please feel free to do that. And we'll give my voice a break a little bit. Oh, yes, great idea. 3D geometry, excellent. Very good to explain math concepts, absolutely. If you scroll down, I don't know if you still have that website, but if you scroll down, you will see a video called Using Chroma Key in Frames. And that is actually fantastic, because this is, so what you see over, the head is superimposed over an image, but what you could do is, students, you can take students' pictures, and I will show you a sample in a moment. Students can take their pictures, or you can take their pictures dressed, for example, as medieval knights or in any type of ancient Egypt or China, and then they can remove background and they can superimpose themselves over, pretending they're actually in Egypt. So and again, it's explained in the short 2-minute Using Chroma Key in Frames video. So again, very helpful. I absolutely love tutorials like that, because I don't like reading instructions, but if I can watch a video and then follow along. That brings me to just one comment that I wanted to make, and I made a note for myself to remind you. I'm not sure if I find many teachers don't realize that you can install almost all, I'm saying 95% of software that is ministry licensed on your own home computer. So if you feel that you would like, because I know how busy you are during the day and how much time you have to, I say, quote, play, unquote, with software, but sometimes you have, you want to do it at home in the evening or during a break. So please remember that you just need to contact, it's called an OESS rep. It's a person in every board who distributes software, and that person should provide you with either a CD or a link or login information, depending on the type of media. If you are not quite sure, or Jennifer, I guess you don't teach in Ontario, if you teach outside, yes, we're certainly lucky, so I apologize, it doesn't apply to you, but okay, so let's move on. One thing that I wanted to show you in Frames, as we are in Frames, I'm going to again share my screen, and I wanted to show you what you can also do with your students to show them the animation process. There is something in Frames called tutorials. So I'm going to share my screen. Again, I'm asking that you bear with me for a moment. My frames, 1 second. Okay, so I think that you can see my screen. I can see that I've got yellow around it, so you do see my screen. So what I went, so let's just go backtrack a little. So when you open frames, this is what you are going to see, and it's a little bit overwhelming. So I'm going to go to the library, and I hope you can see what I'm doing. And in the library, I'm going to go home. This is what you are going to see. A whole bunch of different pictures, clip art, etc. But if you scroll to the bottom, and I'm trying to do it slowly because I'm not sure if there is a delay, I'm going to open a folder called Tutorials. And when I first opened, I was a little bit confused, wondering what exactly are these tutorials, because I was expecting short movie tutorials. So what these are just pictures. So let me just, perhaps the best way would be to do it. So I'm looking now at the crocodile one. So I'm going to grab this and drag and drop into the center. Okay, so what you see now is 5 pictures. So there is a crocodile here. He's got his eyes open and his tongue is stuck a little bit. And the next one, his eyes are closed, the tongue is gone. The next one, eyes open and the tongue looks a little bit different. The next one, again, the tongue is different. And the next one, it's different again. So these are just, so the secret of animation, as you probably remember from the video, is just make a small change, duplicate the frame, make a small change, duplicate the frame, and just keep going. So what I'm going to do is, just using those 5 frames, I will just select them all. And then at the top, you could see the duplicate button. And all I'm going to do is, as I said, I had to select all of them. And I'm going to keep clicking duplicate. And I can click as many times as I want. As you can see at the bottom, I can see those frames appearing. And I have to make a lot of them in order for me to get, right now, my animation is only 8 seconds, 8.5 seconds long. So if I want a longer one and I want the frog to really talk, like let's say I have an interview with a frog, I would have to do a lot of this. So I can keep going forever, and I'm going to just rewind and play and show you what this looks like. Okay, so you could see the frog is blinking and talking, or at least looks like it is talking, but I can certainly use the record button here at the top and record. So this is exactly what happened in the first project that you have seen, except that the characters have been drawn by the students. Any questions about this process? So as I said, that was in Tutorials in Frames. So I'm going to just stop sharing, go back to the whiteboard, and just wait a moment in case there are any questions. That's right. Could be short interview or pencil drawn flipbooks, absolutely. So I'm going to ask again, somebody, I don't remember who it was, asked if you could have access to that first project. So I'm going to show you a few other examples of projects, and again, I'm going to leave you alone for a moment. So again, ask Louise for help. So this is also the Tech for Learning website. I'm not sure why I got a strange message here. Very strange. Why it is not letting me. Okay, let me see if I can paste it here. Okay, so if you could go to this website, for some reason it's not letting me post in there. Okay, so if you go to that website, I will just go without sharing it with you. I apologize for this. I'm not sure why it didn't let me show you. I would like you to actually, I would like you to have a look at a couple of samples I have selected. If you could just scroll down, and you will see in the middle of the screen samples. And then you've got tabs with different subject areas. So I have pre-selected some that I find are extremely well done. So if you could go to the science area and watch just a little bit of the first one. So there's more science samples in the middle. And again, let me see if I can try and do it again. So it's very difficult for you to follow along when I'm just describing. Oh, here it comes. Okay, it appeared finally. So science, number 1 and number 3. So if you could just quickly have a look at these, and then if you could kindly go to social studies and go to number 4, and that's on comparing cultures. So this is the chroma key that I mentioned. So the students, there was a picture of these 2 students, and then they basically superimposed themselves over a different background. So if you could just view those samples and again indicate that you were ready to move on, I would appreciate it. Okay, that's good that you are coming back. Again, I apologize, I'm not giving you much time. So most of you are back, so that's great. I'm going to probably skip a couple of slides because I would really like to get to the book report alternative. So I apologize for moving on a little bit faster here. And the science projects, again, a similar idea of if I were a stomach, which was quite interesting. But again, it is 8:47 here, so I'm going to just go to this slide. And again, either you can comment in the chat or grab the mic. How do these projects compare to the slideshow I showed you downloaded from the web? Okay, you are either shy or... Okay, thank you, Christina. They allow for creativity. Yes, that's certainly what I really appreciate, whenever students can show me that they are creative, beyond just using a million animations and jumping letters, which really doesn't show creativity. It's using what's already in PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever else. That's right. Regurgitating information is no problem. I do really appreciate you commenting. Yeah, the fact that they can actually apply the information and they can actually synthesize, and there's no way, I don't think, that they can find a ready-made interview like this on the web, even if they try really hard. So it really has to be their project. So in programming, absolutely, for sure. Self-critique, yes, that's right. Find a project in a blog. Oh yes, absolutely. All the projects from, you can export them from frames in various formats. It could be HTML, it could be QuickTime, Flash, so there's lots of formats and you can certainly embed it in a blog. Okay, so again, I'm going to just quickly other samples here. This was created by, we're moving on to Comic Life, which many of you are familiar with. But again, instead of just a typical, let's do a project on an animal, and then you're going to talk to me about habitat and food and what they eat and how they reproduce, they had to create a story and they had to write it in the first person. So I am Eddie, I think they called it Eddie the Mountain Beaver. And this is Eddie's older brother, Marcus. And this is the younger sibling. And this is a big bully. And his family, his name is Weasel. He's a weasel, and his name is Bobby. So anyway, again, the creativity aspect, and again, an alternative to a PowerPoint. And the next one, procedure writing certainly isn't awfully exciting, but we can make it more appealing by using digital photography. now cameras, and most of them are below 100. So many students have their own, and this is exactly what happened in this case. They brought their own, and they, again, storyboarded. They wrote the procedure, they took pictures, and then again published it in Comic Life. So these examples that are part of the slideshow, you will have access to them through the recording. This one here, those of you who indicated you were intermediate, you probably recognize New France and the unit on New France. The students were working in small groups, and they had to research a social group and show their understanding, creating a comic in bit strips. It is licensed, correct? Yes. And it's going to be an upgrade actually to Comic Life 2 soon. Again, I'm going to just skip this and move on to the final part, and that's the question. Do your students get excited when you announce a due date for another book report? So the question is, why do we assign a book report? Is it because we've done it for many years and most teachers assign book reports? This is the only way that students can show understanding, comprehension, reading comprehension. Are there any alternatives, perhaps? So here are the alternatives. There is a link. I'm going to again ask Louise to, depends on the medium for sure, absolutely. I'm going to ask Louise to share the link to the Scholastic website, and I will see if I can quickly paste it there as well. Okay, thanks, Louise. I just quickly wanted to show you this website. We won't have time to just go there, but it really does list 25 alternatives to book reports. And I will also show you a couple of samples. Okay, so that's one sample. Again, you're probably recognizing bit strips. If you could just perhaps just give me a thumbs up or a check mark indicating that you have used or you have at least looked and you know what bit strips website is. Okay, Christina, you mentioned you do. Okay, great. So I'm not sure David said an X, so I'm not sure if you're saying yes I do, or perhaps you're using an X to indicate that you, and Jennifer. Okay, so those of you who haven't put a check mark, I'm assuming you're not familiar. So basically it's Bit Strips for Schools. That's the website. And maybe, you know what, let me just quickly take you to bitstripsforschools.com, just quickly to show those of you who are not familiar. So hopefully you can see the screen, the opening screen, the splash page. And all you need to do is just, if you haven't created an account, just click Ontario Teachers in the middle, activate your account, and all you need to do is just select your school board. Again, I'm assuming you are in Ontario, so select your school board. I'm just going to select one at random. Then you select your school, and then if you know your site password, you click yes or no. And then create an account and then create a class. And this is when you can create, students can create comic strips or mini graphic novels. So in this particular case, they were studying I Am David, and they had to do research on what life was like in a concentration camp during the Second World War and show their understanding by creating a comic. What I would like to take you to now, this is a very rich website. I was involved in a project a couple of years ago. It's a Teachers Leading Learning project funded by the ministry. And again, I'm going to ask Louise to paste the link to this project, because I'm sure you will appreciate the wealth of various projects that you would be able to see as samples. Now, there are quite a few videos there, so thank you, Louise, for keeping up with all these links. So hopefully you're able to see the screen. And if you could kindly go to the website. I'm not sure if maybe I can paste the link here.
Thank you, Danuta. That was one link that eluded me.
No, no problem. No. I know it's moving fast now because we're getting to the end. If you I can just draw your attention to the top. There is sample projects and more samples. And these projects, again, cross-curricular links. The first one, they had to write a diary entry from the point of view of the characters of Underground to Canada. And then the one underneath here, another diary entry, and then there was a book trailer, which I wanted to spend a little bit more time on, but we probably will run out of time, so I will just highlight quickly. A book trailer is another medium you can use as an alternative to a book report, and I've worked with a few classes. It was extremely well received. What I would like to emphasize, however, and Louise will post those links for you, I always suggest that they deconstruct before they construct. So this is the same with comic strips. You have to, at least I highly recommend that you spend some time looking at comics, and then the same with book trailers. Start with movie trailers, ask them what are the movie trailers for, then show them samples, and you will have links to YouTube samples and a sample that was created by a librarian. And finally, if I can perhaps close with this sample, so I'm going to ask Louise thanks Louise. So this is one sample that she posted on YouTube that was professionally made, and that's a book trailer sample. And then the next one, I would like you to, if you don't mind, to close with this one sample of a book trailer created by students. It could be Adobe Premiere, or it could be Frames as well. So I'm just going to quickly grab that URL. It's on the wiki again, so if you could go back to the wiki and just go to the language arts. And it's the very first one. Again, we don't have time for the whole video, so if you could just quickly, I will just post the link here for you. And just watch a little bit of the first one. It's on Maniac Maquis. Unfortunately, it is 9 o'clock. The time just flew by. I'm just going to end with this last slide, where I'm suggesting, instead of book reports, book trailers, book talks, podcasts, book reviews, and other alternatives that you can find on the Scholastic website. And I would like to thank you for being here with me tonight for an hour and a half. I hope this session showed you enough to either start integrating technology, or perhaps just look at it from a different angle and use some of these ideas and perhaps use some of these ideas. I apologize for this. And perhaps share the link with your colleagues and they could go to the recording and view it as well. So I'll turn it over to Louise. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Danuta. I know that things are moving along really quickly, and that means there's just so much really fantastic and useful information that everyone can glean from this. I know that John had a question a little earlier, and as well as I see one just right now about the book trailers from David. Whether they were using Animoto or is there another program that the trailers were made. But I did want to draw attention to John's question much earlier in terms of how much time you might take in your classroom getting a handle on the technology and before you get right into it with the students.
Well, most of the projects take quite a bit of time, but I always look at the skills and not just the learning of the content, but I'm talking about if they are working in groups, they are learning so much from each other. They problem solve, they collaborate, they learn to appreciate and respect other people's ideas, and this is invaluable in my perception. So, and technology skills, of course, but these are never at the forefront. So, the book trailer takes about, she was spending about 2 one-hour blocks per week, and from start to finish, including deconstructing book trailers, it took a month.
Okay, thank you very much for that that picture of what the reality of how much time it might take. And a huge thank you, Danuta, and to everyone who joined in tonight. Really, really interesting discussion, and I think that the technology really can help us get out of the box of the book report and into some really fun ways to engage the kids and publish them and really create some products that they're proud to say that they created themselves. Jennifer, I see you posting comment there about a part 2. That may be something we look into, which draws me to, I'm just going to jump through to our last slide here. Our feedback survey is that link right there on the screen, and so I do invite everyone to click on that. It only takes 1 to 2 minutes, and you can let us know there what you thought of tonight's session, the OTS Connects program in general. And you can always reply to the emails that I send to you with links for the sessions, and let me know as well what kind of particular topics are of great interest to you, what things you'd like to see more of, and I will convey that information to Syria, who it doesn't look like has been able to extricate herself from her family tonight to come and say hello, but she does